Hi, this is Kevin again. I thought I would put up another one of Rome's greatest enemy movies, and that's my Germans. So I really enjoy this army. The Germanic tribes stretched all the way from Denmark, all the way down through the Danube, and actually really pushed the Celtic culture. They've really had dominated Central Europe. So, the Gauls were the ancient natives of Western Europe, and for 400 years, basically the Romans had fought them in northern Italy, Hispanian Gaul. But the Germans were relative latecomers, both ethnically and religiously different from the Gauls, even larger and lighter skinned. But they are thought possibly to have originated in Denmark and North Sea, but actually by the 1st century BC, they were pretty much all over Central Europe and pressing upon the Gaelic territories to the west. So Rome's first encounter was around 114 BC, which was the Cimberian War. And 50 years later, Caesar was dealing with them on the Rhine Valley. Of course, I always loved the history of the Cimbrian and Teutonic movement into northern Italy. And that's what really caused the Marius reforms of the Roman army, which really made the Roman army a much more professional force, was because of the pressures of the Germanic tribes that they had never fought before. So it was actually quite a huge task for the Romans to fight these people. The army that I created, we'll take a look at now. I was really inspired with how I built the army by the movie Gladiator. I don't know. It was just such a great movie depicting the Germans coming out of the forest. But I've added other things that have nothing to do with that force that was in the movie. So mine is really based upon a very, very solid force of warriors that can easily be put into what the Germans called the boar head formation. So almost like a wedge, armored infantry and the best armored troops up front, and then progressively going back to the youngsters. Very, very strong, heavy cavalry, and excellent cavalry. They were far the Roman superiors. That's why they were conscripted and were used as mercenaries by the Romans. I hope I don't jump around here too much, but the German tribes really consisted of a lot of different ones. The Marcomanni, the Alemanni, the Kimber, the Teutonans, the Angles, Saxons. The Eastern German tribes, the Vandals, the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, even Lombards, Alads, and Burgundians. So there's a lot of different kinds that you can use. This differs highly to the Celtic type tribes. They fought a lot earlier than fighting against the Romans. The figures I use is quite a mix. I really enjoyed the figures from Cobbelstone, the barbarians. They just really looked to me like Germans. There's Old Glory mixed in here. There's Essex mixed in here. There's some Xyston mixed in here because I wanted a various look of height, depth, poses, and just a fierce-looking force. And of course, I put them back into the forest to make them look, like the movie, like I said. But I really had fun kind of making my stands much more diorama-oriented and using individual figures like the one just shown as druids and witches and other things like that. But how they fought on the battlefield, the Romans were quite respectful of them. If you read a lot of the different encounters, like one I read the other day, it said the Roman had written that he had heard of the legendary boar's head, the formation employed by the Germanic warriors. We knew that if we were to face them again, we might meet our end. Our more experienced fighters had seen it before, he wrote, and they bore the scars of that encounter, and we were now more fearful than ever before. We hoped that in battle, maybe the gods would smile down on us and not the Germans. So I thought that was good. Yeah, anyway, these figures here from Cobbelstone, really highly recommended if you want a German army. That figure right there looked like the warrior in Gladiator, except that one had a hammer and this had an axe. But I thought it was great. Even the standards are just outstanding. Really take my hat off to them. But don't they look like Germans? I mean, just like beefy, meaty, warriors. So anyway, that's why they're in the army. But you can see how I painted it. Each stand here is 80 millimeters in depth, so 240s put together, and I made little dioramas of them in formation and some broken and using the terrain to their advantage on rocks and trees. And I think all in all, it really turned out quite nicely. I even have dogs of war stands where dogs are charging and wolves and other things, and yeah, I mean, I just wanted to depict different tribes. Those stands there are more the Alemanni, and the rest are just generic Germans. But I think put in mass, they look pretty impressive, pretty imposing. I've done some battles using Hail Cesar with the Germans against the Celts, and the Celts always seem to be on the losing end of the stick. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this rendition of my Germanic armies.